Welcome back to Chasing Masculinity, the podcast where we dive deep into what it means to be a man of purpose, faith, and integrity in a world full of distractions and superficial ideas about what it means to be successful. I'm your host, Colton Wutzke, and I'm honored to have you here with me today as we explore the transformative power of sacrifice. And just like you, I'm on this journey to figure out what it means to be a man in today's world. Today's episode is all about Rule 7 from my 24 Rules of Masculinity. Sacrifice will lead to a prosperous future. This principle challenges us to embrace the idea of giving up short-term comforts for long-term growth and fulfillment. We'll be diving into biblical stories, examining historical and modern-day examples, and understanding how embracing sacrifice can lead to a prosperous future, one that goes beyond material success to create real purpose and a lasting impact. To kick things off, let's talk about Abraham, the epitome of faith and sacrifice in the Bible. Imagine living a life of wealth and comfort and then being called to sacrifice it all to follow God's plan. Abraham obeyed God without fully understanding what the future held for him. He took a leap of faith, and through his sacrifices, he found a deeper purpose and created a legacy that would endure for generations. We see his story unfold in Hebrews 11:8-10, which reads, "By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going." Abraham's journey is a reminder that truth and growth often require stepping away from comfort and making real sacrifices. His sacrifices not only shaped his life, but also laid the foundation for God's people, impacting countless generations to come. This isn't just a story about one man. It's a powerful lesson on the impact our sacrifices can have not only in our own futures, but on those around us and the generations that follow. But sacrifice isn't limited to biblical stories. Throughout history, we see the same theme of sacrifice emerging as the driving force behind real growth and success. From Socrates emphasizing the need to reach your physical potential, to modern figures like Elon Musk, who sacrificed personal time and comfort to chase his vision of changing the world. Sacrifice is what separates those who merely dream from those who achieve. And it's not just the greats of history who make sacrifices. This principle applies to our own lives too. If you're trying to achieve something meaningful, you're going to have to face hard decisions. You have to choose between the short-term comforts and your long-term goals, between leisure and discipline. I've had to make these choices myself. Sacrifice isn't easy. It often feels uncomfortable and overwhelming. It demands time, energy, and at times, letting go of things that you've come to rely on or enjoy. But I've learned and continue to learn that real fulfillment comes on the other side of these sacrifices. So today we're going to dive into different aspects of sacrifice. We'll explore the deeper physiological context of what it means to give up temporary comforts for long-term excellence. We'll talk about the fears and uncertainties we face when taking these steps and how embracing that fear can push us to greater heights. We'll look at examples from history like Socrates and Aristotle and how their philosophies encouraged a mindset of sacrifice and discipline. We'll also reflect on the stories of modern leaders like Elon Musk, athletes like Michael Jordan, and activists like Malala Yousafzai, who show us sacrifice fuels lasting success and impact. And, of course, we'll be examining how these principles align with biblical teachings, providing us with the spiritual backbone to persevere through trials guided by faith. So, whether you're someone who's facing a tough decision in life, trying to push through a career plateau, or just trying to be a better version of yourself, this episode is for you. It's time to stop running from sacrifice and start embracing it as the path to real growth and purpose. Before we dive in, let's revisit that verse from Hebrews one more time. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. Remember, sacrifice isn't always about having all the answers. It's about having faith to take that step forward, trusting that the journey will bring something greater than what you're leaving behind. All right, let's jump in and explore the power of sacrifice. Today, let's dive deeper into the story of Abraham and explore how his journey of sacrifice transformed his life in profound ways. In the introduction, we briefly touched on the significance of Abraham's actions. Here, we're going to explore what his sacrifices meant, not just for himself, but for all the generations to come, and how his journey differs from our everyday understanding of sacrifice. When we think of Abraham, we often focus on his unwavering faith and his willingness to follow God's commands, even in moments of uncertainty. But it's important to remember that before Abraham's trials and sacrifices, he wasn't struggling. He wasn't in a dire situation where he had to fight for survival or endure suffering. In fact, Abraham was living a comfortable and relatively wealthy life. He had land, livestock, and a life of stability. Abraham's life wasn't marked by a lack of resources or threats to his existence. He had everything he needed. However, God called him to leave behind that comfort and set out on a journey of uncertainty, hardship, and sacrifice. Imagine being in Abraham's position, comfortable, secure, and well settled, when suddenly you're called to give it all up and to step into an unknown future. This was a tremendous ask, and Abraham's willingness to respond demonstrates the depth of his faith and trust in God's greater plan. God's request wasn't just about testing Abraham's loyalty or obedience, it was about transforming him and guiding him towards a purpose far beyond the life of comfort he once knew. Abraham's sacrifice wasn't just a single act, it was a series of sacrifices that marked his journey, from leaving his homeland to the ultimate test of faith when he was asked to offer his son Isaac. Abraham's journey shows us that sacrifice isn't just about what we give up, it's about where that sacrifice leads us. Abraham's story also highlights that sacrifices aren't just about the immediate consequences, they're about the larger impact they have on others and on the course of history. Abraham's journey and sacrifices laid the foundation for the people of Israel, the lineage of the Messiah, and the roots of all the Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. History demonstrates that the sacrifices we make today, though challenging in the moment, can create legacies that shape the future for generations to come. But how did Abraham endure these trials and sacrifices without losing hope or giving up? The key lies in his faith. Hebrews 11:8-10 tells us, by faith, Abraham, when called to go to the place he would later receive his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. Faith was the backbone of Abraham's journey. It gave him the strength to step into the unknown and trust that God's plan was greater than the comfort he was leaving behind. Faith plays a crucial role in our own sacrifices as well. When we're faced with difficult decisions or moments where we have to give up something meaningful, faith can provide us with the assurance that there's a greater purpose behind our actions. Think about the times in your own life when you faced uncertainty, whether it's pursuing a challenging career path, investing in a relationship, or dedicating yourself to a cause without knowing how it would turn out, in those moments, it's faith that keeps you moving, even when the path is unclear. Faith doesn't eliminate the challenges or hardships of sacrifice, but it does give us the resilience and hope we need to endure them. It provides a sense of purpose that goes beyond immediate gratification, helping us see the bigger picture and stay committed to the journey. Abraham's story reminds us that the sacrifices we make aren't just about giving something up, they're about embracing something greater. And while the immediate rewards might not always be clear, the long-term impact of those sacrifices can be transformative, both for ourselves and for those who come after us. So, as we continue this episode, let's keep in mind that sacrifice isn't always about visible success or tangible outcomes. It's about trusting in the process, having faith in the journey, and recognizing that sometimes stepping away from comfort is what leads to true purpose and fulfillment. To grasp the importance of sacrifice, we need to explore its physiological underpinnings and historical perspectives. Sacrifice isn't just about giving something up, it's a multifaceted concept that involves physical, emotional, and mental elements. Throughout history, various philosophers and spiritual traditions have highlighted the significance of sacrifice in achieving personal excellence, fulfillment, and growth. Let's start with the Greek philosopher Socrates, who emphasized the importance of realizing one's potential through sacrifice. Socrates famously said, "No man has the right to be an amateur in the matter of physical training. It is a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the beauty and strength of which his body is capable." He believed that it was essential for individuals to dedicate themselves to physical training as a way of realizing their full potential. But Socrates' perspective went beyond mere physical fitness. It was about the discipline, commitment, and willingness to endure comfort and to achieve something greater. For Socrates, neglecting the physical development was a sign of failing to appreciate the full capabilities and beauty of the human body. This perspective on physical sacrifice translates seamlessly into other areas of life. Just as pushing your body to its limits requires endurance, so does pursuing excellence in other domains. Whether it's developing a skill, gaining wisdom, or building character, true growth demands that we sacrifice comfort for progress. The sacrifices we make to train, learn, or develop new abilities teach us resilience and foster a mindset of continuous self-improvement. Moving beyond the Greeks, let's take a look at how sacrifice is viewed in Eastern philosophies like Buddhism and Confucianism. In Buddhism, the concept of sacrifice is tied to the relinquishment of desires in the pursuit of enlightenment. The Buddha's teachings emphasize letting go of worldly attachments to achieve spiritual growth and inner peace. This sacrifice isn't just about physical possessions, it's about giving up on mental attachments and the desire for immediate gratification. Sacrifice, in this sense, becomes a path to a higher state of awareness and fulfillment. In Confucianism, sacrifice is closely linked to the values of duty and societal harmony. Confucius emphasized the importance of personal sacrifice for the well-being of the family and society as a whole. He believed that individuals should be willing to put aside their personal interests for the greater good, fulfilling their roles within the family and the community with humility and dedication. Sacrifice, in this context, isn't just about a personal endeavor, but a responsibility towards others, a theme that aligns with the biblical perspective of serving and sacrificing for the benefit of those around us. Aristotle, another Greek philosopher, saw sacrifice as an essential component of achieving virtue. Aristotle believed that cultivating virtues like courage, wisdom, and temperance often requires sacrificing immediate pleasures for long-term excellence. He argued that living a life of virtue was the key to achieving eudaimonia, which is often translated as flourishing or the good life. This idea resonates with the biblical principle of sowing and reaping, where you are called to give up certain pleasures or comforts in the present to build a foundation for lasting fulfillment and success. So, why are these ancient perspectives on sacrifice still relevant today? It's because the principles behind them remain unchanged. Growth and success require discipline, endurance, and a willingness to let go of immediate desires for something greater. The Greek, Eastern, and Confucian views on sacrifice remind us that this isn't just a physical act, it's a holistic approach that encompasses our mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. These principles of sacrifice closely align with the teachings of Christianity. The Bible consistently emphasizes the value of self-denial and sacrifice in our journey of faith. Jesus Christ exemplified the ultimate act of sacrifice through his own life, death, and resurrection, demonstrating that true greatness comes from lying down one's life for others. In Luke 9:23, Jesus said, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me." This call to self-sacrifice is central to the Christian faith, highlighting that the pursuit of personal excellence, growth, it's not merely for individual gain, but for serving others and glorifying God. These ancient philosophies echo a common truth that is fulfilled in the teachings of Christ, where sacrifice leads to spiritual growth, deeper faith, and alignment with God's will. While we'll explore modern-day examples in more detail later, let's briefly consider how these historical insights might tie into our lives today. Think about the sacrifices we make to achieve excellence in our careers, relationships, or any personal growth. Whether it's dedicating time to exercise, pursuing some sort of higher education, or committing to a life of service, the core idea remains the same. True growth demands that we give up what is easy or comfortable in pursuit of something more meaningful. The wisdom of these ancient philosophies challenges us to approach sacrifice with intentionality and purpose. It calls us to go beyond surface-level gestures and embrace sacrifice as a vital part of our journey towards fulfillment and excellence. By understanding sacrifice from these historical and philosophical perspectives, we can better appreciate its role in shaping our lives, our character, and our legacy. Now, let's explore contemporary examples of individuals who have embraced sacrifice to achieve greatness in various fields. But as we look into these examples, let's keep in mind the timeless principles we've already discussed. Sacrifice isn't about giving something up, but committing to a path that leads to personal excellence and a lasting impact. When we think of sacrifice, it's easy to focus on the immediate pain or loss, but sacrifice is actually a long-term investment in our future. Let's explore how some well-known figures have embraced sacrifice and how ordinary people like you and me can apply the same principles in our lives. First, let's look at two high-profile examples of sacrifice, Elon Musk and Michael Jordan. Elon Musk is often cited as a visionary entrepreneur, but what people tend to overlook is the incredible sacrifices he made to get there. Musk famously worked 100-hour work weeks while building companies like Tesla and SpaceX. He poured every dollar he had into his ventures, sleeping on the factory floor instead of paying for an apartment. This level of commitment, this willingness to sacrifice comfort and stability, is a big part of why he's been able to achieve what he has. Sacrificing sleep, security, and time with loved ones isn't easy, but it's a choice he made in the pursuit of something greater. Michael Jordan is another prime example. We see the championships and the legacy, but what we don't always talk about is the sacrifice he made behind the scenes. Jordan had an infamous work ethic. He practiced tirelessly, arriving earlier and staying later than everyone else. This meant giving up leisure time, vacations, and even personal relationships to focus on being the best. The rewards were clear, but the sacrifices required immense dedication and resilience. These examples of sacrifice are often glamorized because we see the end results, However, their journeys were filled with difficult decisions and moments of doubt. Both Musk and Jordan sacrificed short-term comfort for long-term success, demonstrating that greatness requires not just talent, but a willingness to give up immediate pleasures. Now let's shift our focus to the sacrifices we see in everyday life. You don't have to be a billionaire or a legendary athlete to understand and experience the value of sacrifice. Many of us are making sacrifices every day in pursuit of a better future. Parents working extra jobs or taking additional shifts to provide for their children are a prime example. They sacrifice their own comfort, free time, and often their health to ensure their kids have more opportunities. This isn't about short-term gains, it's about investing in the future of their family, even if it means going through tough times in the present. Students are another group making sacrifices. They forego social events, parties, and leisure activities to excel in their studies. This can be especially tough when you see your friends having fun. But these sacrifices are aimed at building a future career and achieving long-term goals. These everyday examples show that sacrifice isn't reserved for those at the top. It's a choice we all have to make at various points in our lives. The key is to understand that these sacrifices are investments in something bigger and more meaningful. It's important to distinguish between long-term sacrifices and short-term sacrifices. Long-term sacrifices are those that may be tough in the moment, but they lead to enduring success and fulfillment. For example, working late to develop a new skill or earning a degree that will propel your career forward are sacrifices that will pay off in the long run. On the other hand, short-term sacrifices often bring quick rewards, but they rarely provide those lasting benefits. For example, skipping a workout or cutting corners on a project may seem like an easy way to save time or avoid discomfort in the moment, but these choices rarely lead to sustained success or personal growth. They give you a fleeting sense of relief or accomplishment, but they do not contribute to your long-term goals. In essence, the sacrifices you choose to make should align with your vision for a prosperous future. If you only focus on short-term wins, you may find yourself stuck in a cycle of temporary gains without ever reaching your true fulfillment. On the contrary, embracing long-term sacrifices, although challenging, will lead to growth and success that lasts. When we think of sacrifice, it's hard not to associate it with fear. It's natural to feel hesitant or even afraid when making decisions that require giving up something valuable: time, comfort, security, or even relationships. However, fear is a part of the process, and understanding how to navigate it is crucial for making sacrifices that will lead to real growth. Fear isn't inherently bad. It's a response designed to protect us and keep us aware of potential dangers. But if we're not careful, fear can become paralyzing, stopping us from taking those steps towards the very goals we want to achieve. The key is to embrace fear as a part of growth rather than letting it control our decisions. When faced with big sacrifice, it's normal to think, what if this doesn't work out? What if I fail? What if I lose everything? These are valid questions, but they shouldn't hold you back. Fear, when acknowledged and managed, can be a powerful motivator rather than an obstacle. It can keep you sharp, alert, and cautious, helping you make wise decisions as you navigate your sacrifices. But it should never prevent you from taking those essential steps forward. Consider Abraham. When God called him to leave his home and sacrifice everything he knew, Abraham must have felt a significant level of fear and uncertainty. After all, he was leaving behind a life of comfort for an uncertain journey. But he moved forward, trusting in God's promises. His story teaches us that fear and faith can coexist. They are not mutually exclusive. In fact, faith often involves stepping forward in the face of fear. The reality is that many sacrifices come with no guarantees. When you commit to a journey or a dream, you can't see the full picture or predict the final outcome. Steve Jobs, for example, didn't know whether his vision of a personal computer would be embraced by the world. The path wasn't clear, and there were numerous risks along the way. Despite the unknowns, he pushed forward, embracing sacrifice to realize his vision. The same goes for Elon Musk. He invested millions and countless hours into projects like SpaceX and Tesla with no assurance of success. Imagine investing every dollar you have, knowing that you might just lose it all. Musk's willingness to actually sacrifice stability for the sake of innovation is a testament to embracing uncertainty with resilience and perseverance. The common factor here is that they moved forward in faith. They believed in their vision, embraced the sacrifices required, and faced fear head on. This is a lesson we can apply in our own lives. When we encounter moments of fear in the face of sacrifice, it's important to lean into that discomfort with the mindset that says, I might not know the outcome, but I trust the process, and I believe that this sacrifice is worth it. Fear can be a catalyst for growth if approached with the right mindset. Rather than seeing fear as an obstacle, we can view it as the signal that we're stepping out of our comfort zone and challenging ourselves to grow. Think about times in your life when you faced fear but moved forward anyway. Maybe it was starting a new job, moving to a new city, or entering into a new relationship. In these moments, fear wasn't a sign to turn back. It was an indication that you were about to experience something meaningful. When we push through fear, we often discover that it was never as daunting as we imagined. More importantly, we find new reserves of strength and resilience that we didn't know we had. Fear can push us to greater heights when we choose to face it with courage and persistence. It can sharpen our focus, refine our purpose, and motivate us to give our all in pursuit of what truly matters. Think of the example of athletes who push their bodies to the limits, enduring intense physical pain and fear of injury. They don't let fear dictate their actions. Instead, they use it as a motivation to train harder, run faster, or push through the final set of reps. Their fear fuels their drive to succeed rather than holding them back. The same principle applies to our personal and professional sacrifices. We must embrace fear as a motivator rather than a barrier. When we talk about sacrifice, it's easy to view it only through the personal lens, thinking about what it costs us or how it helps us achieve our goals. But the impact of sacrifice often extends far beyond our individual lives. Personal sacrifices have the power to transform societies, inspire others, and create movements that last long after we're gone. Let's explore how sacrifices made by notable individuals have impacted entire communities, nations, and the world, and how we can apply those principles to our own lives. One of the most powerful examples of the societal impact of personal sacrifice is Martin Luther King Jr. He sacrificed his safety, his freedom, and ultimately his life in the fight for civil rights. King didn't just see the problems in society, he chose to take action knowing that there would be risks of immense opposition. His willingness to sacrifice his personal well-being for a cause greater than himself led to monumental changes in American society. His dedication to the civil rights movement and his message of non-violent resistance inspired countless individuals to stand up against injustice, changing the course of history in the United States. Then there's Mother Teresa. She sacrificed a life of comfort to serve the poorest of the poor in Calcutta and beyond. Her selflessness and compassion made her a global symbol of love and charity. The life she led wasn't glamorous or easy, but she was willing to endure discomfort and hardship to serve others. Her legacy lives on, not just in the lives she directly touched, but also in the countless charitable organizations inspired by her example. Another contemporary example is Malala Yousafzai. Malala was a teenager when she began advocating for girls' education in Pakistan, despite the dangers and opposition she faced from extremists. Her willingness to sacrifice her safety led to an attack on her life. But she survived and used her experience to amplify her message even further. Today, Malala's efforts have sparked a global conversation about the importance of education for all, particularly young girls in regions where education is restricted. These examples show us that sacrifices often lead to broad societal changes. Martin Luther King Jr. and Mother Teresa each faced moments of decisions, times when they had to choose between staying comfortable and sacrificing themselves for a greater purpose. They chose the path of sacrifice, and their commitment to that path has inspired countless others to do the same and is the reason that we're still talking about them now. However, the call to sacrifice can sometimes lead to burnout if not approached with the right mindset and balance. There's a fine line between sacrifice and self-destruction, and it's crucial to be aware of where this is as you strive to achieve your goals. Burnout often happens when we sacrifice without taking time to rest, recharge, or reflect. If we keep giving without replenishing ourselves, we risk reaching a point where we're too exhausted to continue. Maintaining balance is essential for making sacrifices sustainable and effective. So, how do we find this balance? It starts with recognizing the importance of self-care. This isn't about being selfish and putting yourself before others. It's about making sure you have the strength and energy to continue giving in the long run. Jesus himself took time to rest and pray, seeking solitude to recharge before facing the challenges of his mission. If even the Son of God needed rest, it's pretty clear that we do too. Here's a few ways to balance sacrifice with self-care. Set realistic goals. Don't try to do everything at once. Break down large tasks or sacrifices into those manageable steps to avoid feeling overwhelmed. Remember, long-term success is built through consistent small efforts. Schedule downtime. Incorporate regular breaks and leisure activities into your routine, whether it's spending time with family, enjoying a hobby, or simply resting. Downtime helps to recharge your energy and clear your mind. Engage with scripture and prayer. Spend time in prayer and reading the Bible. This helps to reduce stress and maintain focus on your purpose. Jesus' time in prayer is a reminder that spiritual renewal is essential for physical and mental resilience. Seek support. Lean on friends, family, or mentors to encourage and advise you. Having a strong support system can help you navigate challenging sacrifices and keep you motivated. The last is prioritize your physical health. Make time for exercise, proper nutrition, and sufficient sleep. When your body is healthy, your mind is sharper, and you're better equipped to handle stress and sacrifice effectively. By balancing sacrifice with self-care, you can ensure that your efforts remain sustainable and that you don't burn out before achieving your goals. The sacrifices made by figures like Martin Luther King Jr., Mother Teresa, and Malala Yousafzai remind us of the impact that personal sacrifices can have, not only to our own lives, but also to the world around us. Their examples inspire us to make sacrifices with courage and purpose, knowing that our efforts can contribute to something much greater than ourselves. Sacrifice can often seem like a monumental, all-encompassing endeavor, but in reality, it's made up of small, daily choices that contribute to long-term growth. We often associate sacrifice with giving up something big, like our comfort or resources. But the true power of sacrifice lies in the daily habits that shape who we are and how we live. So let's go through some practical steps to help incorporate sacrifice into our everyday lives in a way that leads to personal growth, stronger relationships, and a more fulfilling journey. The first step in making meaningful sacrifices is to identify the areas in your life that need attention. Take a moment to ask yourself, where am I falling short in my relationships, career, or all-round personal growth? What bad habits or distractions are holding me back from reaching my goals? Is there something or someone in my life that I'm neglecting because I'm too focused on myself or my immediate comfort? By identifying these areas, you're not just acknowledging your weaknesses, you're pinpointing where your sacrifices can have the most significant impact. For example, if you're struggling with personal growth, maybe it's time to sacrifice some leisure activities and dedicate that time to learning a new skill, reading a book, or investing in your spiritual life. If your relationships are suffering, perhaps you need to sacrifice some of your individual pursuits to spend quality time with your loved ones or to work on communicating better. And if your career has hit a plateau, consider sacrificing some comfort by taking on additional responsibilities or learning new things to try and advance. Recognizing where sacrifices are needed is the first step to making positive changes in your life. Once you've identified the areas that require sacrifice, it's essential to develop daily habits that embody this principle. It's the little things we do every day that eventually add up to major transformations. Here are some suggestions for daily acts of sacrifice. Dedicate time to self-improvement. Set aside a specific amount of time each day to work on a skill, study a topic, or invest in your spiritual growth, whether it's reading, exercising, or engaging in deep prayer and meditation. These small daily sacrifices build a habit of continual growth. The next is prioritize your family and relationships. We all have limited energy. Sacrificing a little bit of your own comfort, like staying up to have a meaningful conversation with your spouse or putting down your phone to play with your kids, is a powerful act of love. Sacrifice your distractions and fully engage with the people who matter most. Next is to serve others consistently. Making habits of finding ways to help others, whether it's through volunteer work, supporting a friend, or simply being there for someone who needs to talk. Sacrifice some of your personal convenience to be a blessing to those around you. This habit fosters and deepens your relationships. These sacrifices may seem small in the moment, but over time they can create profound changes in your life and in the lives of those around you. Well, it's essential to incorporate daily habits of sacrifice. We also need to keep our long-term goals in mind. Big dreams and aspirations require consistency and commitment, which often involves making sacrifices over an extended period. Think of it as planting seeds today that will bear fruit in the future. Delayed gratification. Success doesn't come overnight. It's the result of immediate pleasure for long-term gain. If you're trying to save money for a house, that might mean giving up spontaneous weekend trips or unnecessary expenses. If you're working towards a promotion, it could mean spending less time relaxing and more time studying or working on side projects. Consistency over intensity. Small sacrifices done consistently are more effective than grand gestures made once in a while. You can't work out for 1 week straight and expect lasting results, just like you can't have one deep conversation and fix all of your relationship issues. Sacrificing daily, putting in consistent effort even when you're tired, frustrated, or busy, leads to the greatest rewards. Sacrificing comfort for growth. Remember, the goal of sacrifice isn't just to give up things for the sake of giving them up. It's about letting go of what's holding you back so you can embrace what will propel you forward. This is about creating a life that is aligned with your values, goals, and aspirations. The sacrifices you make today are investments in the person you're becoming and the life you're building. Remember that incorporating sacrifice into your daily life isn't about being a martyr or losing yourself. It's about making intentional choices to pursue a life of purpose, growth, and fulfillment. Whether it's giving up some time to work on yourself, sacrificing comfort to be present for your family, or letting go of distractions to serve others, these acts will shape you into the man God is calling you to be. Now that we've explored the transformative power of sacrifice and its impact on both our personal lives and the world around us, let's take a moment to reflect on how these principles apply to our own journeys. Sacrifice is not a one-time event. It's a consistent mindset and a way of living. To help you think deeply about this, I've prepared some reflection questions to guide you in evaluating where sacrifice fits into your life. When have you sacrificed for long-term gain, and what did you learn? Take a moment to think about a time when you made a significant sacrifice, whether in your career, relationships, health, or personal growth. What did you give up and why? More importantly, what did that experience teach you? Did you come out stronger, wiser, or more capable on the other side? Reflecting on past sacrifices can give you valuable insights into the strength and resilience you already possess. What sacrifices have you avoided out of fear or discomfort? We all have areas where we hesitate to let go of comfort or security. Maybe it's a fear of stepping outside your comfort zone, a reluctance to dedicate time to something new, or an avoidance of tough conversations. Think about those moments where fear or discomfort held you back from making a necessary sacrifice. What was at stake, and how did avoiding that sacrifice impact you in the long run? Acknowledging these missed opportunities is the first step to moving forward with courage and intention. Where in your life can you begin embracing sacrifices for future success? Look at your current situation. Are there areas where you can start making sacrifices to pave the way for a more prosperous future? It could be dedicating time to learning a new skill, investing more energy into a relationship, or letting go of a habit that's holding you back. Identify one or two areas where embracing sacrifice could lead to long-term success and personal growth. Take some time this week to sit with these questions and truly reflect on your journey. Identify the sacrifices you've made, the ones you've avoided, and those you need to start making. Write them down if it helps, and commit to making changes in your daily routine or mindset that align with the person you want to become. Remember, sacrifice is not about loss, it's about making room for growth, transformation, and a life that is aligned with your purpose. Don't let fear or discomfort hold you back from the life you're meant to lead. Today, we explored the profound concept of sacrifice and its connection to achieving long-term success. From Abraham's journey of faith to the stories of historical and modern figures, we saw how personal sacrifice is the common thread in shaping a prosperous future. Whether it's giving up comfort, embracing the unknown, or dedicating yourself to a cause greater than yourself, sacrifice lays the foundation for growth, fulfillment, and legacy. I want to be clear, I'm not an expert or a master at embracing sacrifice. This principle is something I'm learning to incorporate in my own life daily, and honestly, it's not easy. Sacrifice challenges my comfort, tests my patience, and pushes me beyond what I think I'm capable of. But slowly, I'm starting to see how embracing sacrifice is shaping me into a better man and preparing me for a future aligned with my purpose. It's a journey I'm still on, and I invite you to join me in pursuing this mindset of sacrifice in your own life. Now, I want to turn this back to you. Think about where sacrifice fits into your journey. Are there sacrifices you're making right now? Or are there areas in your life where you've been hesitant to let go of comfort or security? How are you embracing the hard choices that lead to real growth? I encourage you to take some time this week to reflect on these questions and share your thoughts and experiences on social media, or reach out to me directly. Let's build a community of men dedicated to making the hard choices that lead to prosperity. In our next episode, we'll dive into Rule 8. Hard work with the expectation of high reward will only lead to disappointment. we're going to explore why having the wrong expectations can undermine your efforts and how to shift your focus to find the real fulfillment in your work. Thanks for joining me today on Chasing Masculinity. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Your support really helps spread this content, so make sure to leave a like. It makes a big difference and helps more people find the podcast. Also, don't forget to share this podcast with your friends, family, or anyone you think could benefit from these discussions. Let's build a community of men who are dedicated to personal growth, faith, and becoming the best versions of ourselves. You can also connect with me on social media. Follow me on X and Instagram at Mr. Wutzke, where I share more insights, reflections, and updates. Feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear your thoughts and answer any of your questions on today's episode. Thanks again for joining me today on Chasing Masculinity. Until next time, keep chasing.